There was an unfamiliar mirror in our bedroom. That's how it starts. It wasn't big. Oval. A bit dusty. The kind of mirror you might find in a cheap motel or your grandmother's attic. But it wasn't ours. I noticed it on a Tuesday. The same day I realized our bedsheets had been changed, and not by me. Andy said she bought it at a flea market in Bellwood. Funny. She hasn't been to Bellwood in years. I stood in front of it that evening after she went to sleep, staring at myself like a stranger. I didn't recognize my own face. Or maybe I didn't want to. I had this ridiculous thought. Maybe it's not a mirror at all. Maybe it's a window. And maybe someone on the other side is watching me. I know how that sounds. But sometimes, when the lies pile high enough, reality gets slippery. That night, she whispered it. Like always. Don't be mad. Not loudly. Just enough for me to hear it, curled in her sleep like she was confessing to a dream. I didn't answer. Instead, I reached under the bed, grabbed the duffel bag I'd packed 2 weeks earlier, and slid it out so quietly it didn't even wrinkle the sheet. You don't pack a bag like that because you're paranoid. You pack it because you've already counted the lies, and you're just waiting for the last one to push you over. 3 weeks ago, our cat meowed at the closet for nearly 10 minutes straight. She never does that. And when I opened it, there was nothing there, except an unfamiliar jacket. Men's. Size large. Cologne I don't wear. I asked Andy about it. She smiled, that fake, almost theatrical smile, and said it was her cousin's, left from a visit in March. Except her cousin was in rehab in March. I know this because I paid for it, and I started writing things down. I'm not crazy. I'm just tired of being confused. Tired of hearing things that don't match the math. That mirror? It's angled. Positioned just right to reflect the bed from the hallway. Like someone used it to check if we were asleep before slipping away. Or slipping in. In the kitchen last Sunday, she laughed at a text that came in. I asked what was funny. She turned the phone over and said, "Just a meme. Don't be mad." That phrase again. Don't be mad. Why would I be mad at a meme? Why would she need to say that unless the text wasn't a meme? I didn't ask. I just finished my toast and folded the napkin in 4 perfect squares like I always do. And that night, when she reached out to touch my chest, I winced. Not because I was angry, but because I felt like a prop in my own life. When she wakes up tomorrow, the mirror will still be there. But I won't be. And maybe, just maybe, she'll see her own reflection for once, and finally ask herself what she's been hiding from. But I doubt it. Next time, I'll tell you what was really in the mirror. Or rather, who was reflected in it that shouldn't have been. The next morning, I expected silence. Instead, I woke up to laughter. Not mine. Not hers. A man's voice. I was standing in the hallway outside our bedroom, fully dressed, keys in hand, ready to leave. I had barely slept. My heart had that thin, paper-like feeling you get right before a panic attack, but quieter. Numb. The only thing anchoring me to the moment was the sound of him. I pressed my ear to the door. And there it was again. A laugh. Then a pause. Then her voice, saying something low and sleepy, the way she used to talk to me on Sunday mornings. I opened the door, not sure what I'd find. But she was alone, lying in bed, phone in hand, hair messy from sleep. She turned to me casually, almost bored, and said, "Morning. Want coffee?" The voice was still echoing in my skull. "Who were you talking to just now?" She blinked slowly, tilted her head. "No one. Watching something." I didn't believe her, of course. But I didn't argue. I walked downstairs and made my own coffee, holding the mug tighter than I needed to. My knuckles hurt. I stared out the kitchen window for a long time. Long enough that the reflection of her face appeared in the glass behind me. That's when she said it again. "Don't be mad." I didn't turn around. I just nodded once and said, "Okay." After she left for Pilates, which I've started referring to in quotes, even in my head, I went back upstairs and checked the bed. Her phone was gone, but she'd left her iPad on the nightstand. And here's the thing about Andy. She's smart. Too smart. But she's also lazy with tech. She never unlinked her devices from our old cloud account. The one we set up before we got married. Before she was this person. It only took 30 seconds to access the synced voicemail backups. Most were junk. Old reminders, dentist appointment confirmations, one from my mom wishing us happy anniversary from 2 years ago. Then I found it. A voicemail from unknown. But the voice? Not unknown. The same exact voice I heard through the bedroom door this morning. It wasn't a name I recognized. But it had warmth in it. Comfort. The kind of voice that doesn't leave messages unless he already knows she'll smile when she hears them. Hey, last night was something else. I keep thinking about the way you looked when you said you weren't scared. I hope you're sleeping in. Text me when the coast is clear. The coast is clear. What a phrase. Like I'm the storm. That evening, I didn't confront her. I couldn't. I didn't know how. What do you say? Hey, I stole your iPad data and found a ghost. Instead, I asked her how Pilates went. She smiled, kissed my cheek, and said, good sweat. No towel in the car. No smell of shampoo. No soreness. Just lies dressed up in yoga pants. We had dinner like normal. Roasted chicken. She oversalted it again. She always does that when she's nervous. After dinner, she opened a bottle of wine. I declined. She asked if I was okay. I said I was just tired. She gave me that look, the one that pretends to be worried but is really just measuring how much you know. Then she went upstairs early. I stayed on the couch, lights off, wine untouched. That voicemail kept playing in my head, especially that part. You said you weren't scared. Scared of what, Andy? What have you gotten yourself into? Or worse, who? Later that night, I went back to the iPad. I scrolled through synced photos. Nothing too obvious. She's good at hiding things. But deep in a folder called Notes Archive, I found a picture of a napkin. Just a napkin. From a bar we've never been to. On it, written in ink. I'll never ask you to leave him. Just don't lie to me. My hands went cold. Someone out there knows about me. Knows about us. And he's okay with being the shadow. The secret. The whisper. What he doesn't know is I've stopped being okay with being the fool. I'm not leaving tomorrow. Not yet. Because if she's going to lie, I want to know everything. I should have left the night I found the voicemail. A smarter man would have. But I'm not smart, not when it comes to her. I'm the kind of man who rereads the same sentence 4 times in a book because I'm too busy thinking whether I remembered to compliment her hair that morning. I've always believed that love is earned by persistence. But persistence, I've learned, looks a lot like denial if you squint hard enough. The napkin photo kept haunting me. That name of the bar printed in the corner, the Violet Loon, sounded made up, like something from a dream or a failed speakeasy. I Googled it. Turns out, it's real. 22 minutes away, tucked behind a liquor store and a tire shop in a part of town people pretend doesn't exist. No website. No menu. Just 2 photos on Yelp and 1 blurry Google review from 2018 that simply said, strange crowd, weak gin, okay music. I drove there on a Thursday, not to find her. I knew she wouldn't be there, but I wanted to stand where he stood. The one who leaves voicemails in the morning and writes secrets on napkins at night. I parked across the street and watched the entrance for almost half an hour, engine off, windows cracked. Every time someone walked in, I checked for a glint of recognition. Nothing. Eventually, I went inside. It was darker than I expected. The kind of dark that's intentional. Not cozy, secretive. The bar had a jukebox playing something jazzy, slow and wet. There were only 4 patrons, none of whom looked like they'd ever whispered anything worth remembering. I sat at the bar and ordered a tonic water. The bartender, a woman with a shaved head and a sleeve of koi fish tattoos, barely looked at me. I asked her if she recognized the handwriting on the napkin. I'd printed it out. She stared at it for a long time before handing it back and saying, "We go through a lot of napkins, man." Fair enough. But I noticed something when I slipped the napkin into my pocket. The bartender checked the time. Then she made a call from the landline behind the register, speaking low into the receiver, turning away just slightly. 5 minutes later, a man walked in and didn't order anything. He didn't sit, didn't look around, just stood by the door. Tall, black jacket, buzz cut, one hand in his pocket. He stared at me until I finished my drink, then stepped aside like a door opening. So I left. I didn't look back. But I knew what I'd just done. I had poked the shadow. Back in the car, I felt like I couldn't breathe. My heart wasn't racing. It was trembling. That kind of internal flutter you only feel when you know something's watching you, but pretending not to. When I got home, she was already asleep. Or pretending to be. That's the new routine now. She doesn't ask me about my day. She doesn't mention the duffel bag that's no longer under the bed. She doesn't ask why I leave the house at odd hours. Maybe she thinks I'm having an affair, too. Maybe that would make this whole thing neater for her. The next morning, while she showered, I checked her purse. I've never done that before. It felt like stepping into someone else's skin. Her wallet, her lipstick, her AirPods, all the normal stuff. And then, Crumpled in a side pocket of a zipped pouch she never uses, I found the hotel keycard. Embossed on it, in fading silver. Birchwell Suites. Room 409. I stared at it like it might burn through my palm. I knew that place. It's not a big hotel. Mostly business travelers and road-weary salesmen. The kind of place that offers free breakfast and smells like lemon disinfectant. I'd driven past it 1,000 times and never imagined she'd been inside it. But she had. I checked the calendar on her phone later that day when she was out walking the dog. Nothing marked. No dentist appointment. No brunch. Just a blank day 2 Thursdays ago. So I called Birchwell Suites and asked if they could connect me to room 409. I wasn't expecting them to say yes. But they did. The phone rang twice before someone picked up. There was silence on the other end. No greeting. No voice. Just breath. I didn't say anything either. I just listened. 30 seconds passed. Then a quiet click. Call ended. That was yesterday. I haven't told her I know. I haven't asked about the keycard. I slid it back exactly where I found it, angle and all. I want her to think I'm still blind. Because now I need to see how deep this tunnel goes before I decide to crawl out. Or collapse in it. Next time, I'll tell you what I saw when I went to room 409 myself. I wasn't ready. You won't be either. I sat in the Birchwell Suites parking lot for 23 minutes before I convinced myself to go in. Not because I was scared of what I might find. No, that part one was numb too. It was because I wasn't sure what I'd do if I actually found him. What does a man like me say in a moment like that? I'm not the type to swing a fist. I've never even been in a fight. I once apologized to a stranger for stepping on my own shoelace and tripping. But the keycard was in my pocket. Her keycard. Room 409. And I knew I wouldn't be able to sleep another night in the same house unless I opened that door and saw for myself. The lobby was clean. Sterile, almost. The air smelled like synthetic vanilla and glass cleaner. There was a fake orchid on the reception desk and a framed motivational quote on the wall. Wherever you go, go with all your heart. I wanted to laugh, but my stomach was too tight. No one stopped me. No one asked questions. Hotels are good at pretending people don't exist. That's part of their design. I stepped into the elevator alone. Pressed 4. My ears popped slightly on the way up. I counted each ding like a warning bell. Ding, 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 ding. The hallway was empty. Beige walls. Beige carpet. Beige silence. Room 409 was at the very end. The keycard slid in without resistance. The lock clicked. I paused, then opened the door. The first thing I noticed was the bed. It was made, too perfectly. Tucked corners. Centered pillows. Not like a hotel staff had done it. Like someone had taken time to make it look like no one had been there at all. That was the first red flag. The second was the scent. Not strong, but present. Not cologne, not perfume, detergent. The smell of freshly washed sheets. Not hotel-issued ones. Whatever had been used to clean them wasn't standard. It smelled like our own laundry. The same lavender scent we use at home. And then I saw it, on the bedside table. A paperback novel. I knew that book. It was mine. My copy of Cat's Cradle by Vonnegut, dog-eared on page 73. The exact page where I'd stopped reading 2 months ago when life started slipping sideways. I picked it up slowly. Flipped through it. My notes were in the margins. My handwriting. The little sarcastic scribbles I only ever make when I think no one's watching. She had brought my book to his room. I sat down in the single chair by the window. My heart wasn't pounding anymore. It was doing something worse. It was steady. Focused. Like it was watching me the same way I was watching the room. And then I saw the photo frame. It was face down on the dresser. I walked over and picked it up. A picture of her. And me. From 3 years ago. My birthday. She was kissing my cheek. I had icing on my nose. It was the only photo in the frame. No explanation. No note. Why would she bring that here? I stared at it for a long time before placing it back. This time face up. If he saw it, I wanted him to know I'd been here. That I existed. That this wasn't just her secret. It was ours. Or at least, it used to be. I didn't stay long. 15 minutes, maybe. I didn't touch anything else. I didn't steal anything or leave a message. I just stood in the middle of the room, letting the smell of clean sheets and betrayal sink into my skin. Before I left, I opened the drawer beneath the TV. There was a folder. I wasn't going to look. I swear I wasn't. But I did. Inside were printed pages. Not many. 5 or 6. Each one was a screenshot of a conversation. I only needed to read the first few lines to know what they were. They were for me. Text messages I had sent her months ago, maybe even a year back. Random ones. A birthday wish. A dumb poem I wrote. One where I said I missed her when she was away at a retreat. She had printed them out. I couldn't make sense of it. None of this made sense. Why would someone cheating on their husband bring his book, his texts, his photo, to a hotel room meant for a stranger? What game was she playing? What role was I cast in that I didn't know about? I left room 409 shaking. But not from anger. From confusion. And a creeping, gnawing suspicion that maybe this wasn't just about infidelity. Maybe it never was. Maybe it was something worse. That night, after I came back from Birchwell Suites, I didn't go straight home. I sat in the car at the gas station near our neighborhood for nearly 2 hours, engine off, my phone face down on the passenger seat. I wasn't waiting for anything. I just couldn't go back inside. Not yet. I kept thinking about the copy of Cat's Cradle sitting neatly on that hotel nightstand, like it had always belonged there. About my own handwriting inside someone else's betrayal. The room had felt like a museum exhibit of my relationship, staged by a curator who hated me. But eventually, I had to go back. I still had to play the role, at least until I knew what the game was. When I walked into the house, she was in the kitchen, barefoot, hair damp from a shower, pouring wine into one of those oversized glasses she always joked could hold a whole bottle. She didn't look surprised to see me, not even a flicker, just said, "Hey," like I'd returned from a quick errand, not an expedition into her secrets. I told her I had taken a long walk, needed air. She nodded, passed me the second glass, which she'd already poured for me without asking. We didn't talk about anything meaningful. We sat on the couch and half-watched some crime documentary neither of us paid attention to. I kept glancing at her profile, waiting for some crack to form, some slip-up, a smirk, a twitch, a tell, anything. But she was calm, too calm, like she'd been rehearsing for this. Then, out of nowhere, she set her glass down, turned to me, and placed her hand on my chest. Soft, warm, familiar, but wrong. There was no warmth behind it. No tension, no hesitation, no spark. It was a mechanical motion, like pressing a button, and her eyes didn't meet mine when she did it. She looked over my shoulder, as if someone else was watching us, like she was showing them, not me, that she was still here, still committed, still in control. I asked her, "What are you doing?" She smiled, kissed me lightly on the cheek, and whispered, "Just reconnecting." Reconnecting. Not "I miss you." Not "I love you." Just reconnecting. That word rattled around in my head like a coin dropped into a drain. I could have pulled away, but I didn't. I let her keep her hand there, let her play her part, while my mind played back the voicemail, the hotel room, the book, the picture frame. None of it added up. Not in any way that made sense. You don't take a picture of your husband to the bed of your affair. You don't print his messages unless you're trying to preserve something. Or prove something. I didn't sleep that night. She did. Curled up next to me like always, breathing softly, her head on my shoulder. I stared at the ceiling, and for the first time, I felt it. Not anger. Not jealousy. Not fear. I felt like I was being studied. Like she wasn't cheating on me, not in the traditional sense. No, it was something else. Something colder. Like I was part of some quiet experiment. One where she already knew the outcome, but was waiting to see how long I'd take to reach it. The next morning, she made pancakes. Blueberry. My favorite. Said it was just because. She even hummed while she flipped them. That fake, too light melody she hums when she's pretending to be normal. I played along. I smiled. Ate too. Said thanks. Kissed her forehead. Then I excused myself to run errands. What I really did was drive to the photo print shop across town and ask if anyone had come in recently to print messages from a phone. Screenshots. Texts. The guy behind the counter was disinterested, chewing on a pen cap, clearly wanting me to leave. But when I described the woman, short red hair, scar on her left hand, wedding band on a chain, he paused. She was here last week, he said. Had a flash drive. Real specific instructions. Wanted thick paper. Matte finish. I asked if he remembered what was on the pages. He nodded slowly. Texts, yeah. Messages. All one-sided though. Just blue bubbles. No replies. That's when it hit me. She wasn't just printing our texts. She was editing them, removing her responses, creating a new story, a different version of us. But for who? That question is what will drive the next part of this story. Because later that same day, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. And the man on the other end said something that made my blood stop moving. He said, "I think your wife's been showing people your messages, but not in the way you think." I almost didn't answer the phone. The number was unfamiliar. Local area code, but not saved in my contacts. Normally, I let those go to voicemail, but something about the timing, right after I left the print shop, right after confirming what I'd feared about the one-sided messages, made me pick it up. Instinct. Curiosity. Maybe some deeper part of me wanted the wrong thing to happen, just so I could finally stop pretending I wasn't in the middle of something much darker than infidelity. There was a delay when I answered. No breathing, no sound. Then, finally, a voice. Male, soft, but deliberate. "Is this Ellis?" The voice wasn't familiar. Not immediately, but it had the tone of someone who knew me, or thought he did. Cautious. Curious. I hesitated. "Who is this?" "You don't know me," he said. "But I know your wife, and I think we need to talk." There was a beat of silence before he added, almost awkwardly, "In person." I parked in a grocery store lot and sat there for almost 10 minutes before agreeing to meet him. His voice wasn't threatening. He didn't sound like a guy trying to pick a fight. If anything, he sounded tired. Tired like me. That's what convinced me. He gave me an address. A coffee shop downtown I hadn't been to in years. The kind with uncomfortable chairs and an indie playlist humming just a little too loud. When I walked in, I scanned the tables and saw him immediately, sitting near the back, facing the door. He looked like someone who had either been recently divorced or was about to be. Thin, pale, maybe late 30s. Unshaven. The kind of guy who used to smile often but had long since forgotten how. When he saw me, he stood and waved. Then froze. I did too. Because for a moment, I thought I was looking at a distorted reflection of myself. Not identical, not quite, but close. Same hair color. Same general frame. Similar jawline. Same tired eyes. I don't believe in coincidences. And neither did he, apparently. "I'm Ben," he said, extending a hand. I shook it, still stunned. "You said you know my wife." He nodded slowly. "Andrea." "I Saturday, how do you know her?" He looked down at his coffee, stirred it once without drinking. "We met 6 months ago. At a meetup. Literature discussion group. I read some of my writing aloud. She came up to me after, said she liked how I used silence between lines. Said it reminded her of someone she used to know." I didn't speak. I was afraid I already knew where this was going. He continued. "We got close. Not romantically, at first. She said she was married, but unhappy. Said her husband didn't listen. That he was cold. Obsessive. Controlling, even." I blinked. "She said that?" He nodded. "She showed me texts. Said they were from him. From you." A strange coldness spread across my chest. "She printed them," he added. "Told me she kept them as a record. For therapy. For safety. Said you'd gaslight her if you knew she was going to leave." My mouth was dry. What did they say? Ben reached into his coat and pulled out a folder. He laid it on the table between us. I hesitated, then opened it. Pages of screenshots. Messages, all supposedly from me. Full of condescension, threats, quiet manipulation. Things I'd never said, never written. Some were close enough to real that they might have passed under casual inspection. But I knew. She had taken fragments of real messages, twisted them, and Frankensteined them into a narrative. "I never said these things," I said softly. "I believe you," Ben replied. "That's why I reached out. Because something felt off." I flipped through more pages. At the bottom of one, a note written in pen. "If anything happens to me, show these to the police." My stomach flipped. "She told me you were unstable," he added. And at first, I believed her. She's persuasive. Charming. But then things got weird. How? She started showing up at my apartment unannounced. Leaving things. Cooking. But she wouldn't stay. She'd vanish right after. Once I found a framed picture of her in my kitchen. The same one she said her husband kept on his desk. Same frame, same photo. When I asked her about it, she said I was imagining things. That I was mixing her up with someone else. I sat there, stunned. Ben leaned in. "Ellis, I don't think she's cheating on you. I think she's duplicating you." "What?" "She's recreating your relationship. With me. Piece by piece. Copying gestures. Words. Books. Texts. And the weirdest part? She wants to be seen doing it. She leaves clues. She wants us both to know, just not at the same time." I felt like I couldn't breathe. "She once said," Ben continued, "I like my memories better the second time." I didn't know what she meant, but now I think I do. I sat back, eyes unfocused. I remembered the hotel room, the clean sheets, the book, the photo, the feeling that everything there had been arranged, not left behind. Why would she do this? I asked, more to myself than to him. Ben hesitated. I think you should check her journal. I looked at him. She carries a red notebook. Small. Keeps it in her bag. I only saw it once. The cover said rehearsals. My throat tightened. He stood and slid the folder toward me. I'm sorry, he said. I really thought she was someone else. So did I? It took me 3 days to find the notebook. 3 days of pretending everything was fine, that nothing had changed, that I wasn't slowly falling through a trapdoor in the middle of my own life. I watched her move around the house with unsettling calm, humming while she folded laundry, scrolling through her phone with her legs curled under her on the couch, cooking dinner like it was any other Tuesday. But there was something different in her now, something smoother, more practiced. It was like watching someone act out the role of a wife they'd studied but never been. Too perfect in the wrong ways. Too careful with her chaos. I waited until she left for her bi-weekly therapy session, which she always claimed helped her stay grounded. I wasn't sure if she was actually seeing anyone. I wasn't sure of anything anymore. What I did know was she always took the same green handbag. And tucked into the side zip of that handbag, according to Ben, was a red notebook labeled rehearsals. The moment her car left the driveway, I went upstairs. I didn't hesitate. I knew this was my only shot. I pulled the bag from the closet shelf and opened it on the bed like I was defusing a bomb. There it was. Red. Leather. Small enough to pass as a date planner. I held it in my hands for a long moment before I opened it. My heart was hammering in my throat, and my fingers trembled like I was peeling back the cover of something sacred and unholy at once. The first page was blank. The second had one sentence, handwritten in ink. Memory is a lie we tell together. Below it, dates, names, phrases, snippets of dialogue, fragments of my life, lifted, repeated, reworded. She had recorded everything. Every small moment. Every quote I'd ever said that made her laugh. Every argument she'd turned into performance. Every text message she had rewritten to suit her narrative. It was a script, my script, reimagined, restructured, rehearsed. Some pages were titled The Breakfast Fight, Ellis v1. Panic Attack Rehearsal, Coffee Shop Variant. Ben, Modified Reactions to Jealousy Prompts. Scene, Apology After Imagined Threat. Each one was like looking into a mirror that had been twisted slightly, as if my real life had been pulled apart and stitched into a new costume for someone else to wear. I wasn't reading a diary. I was reading direction notes. She had written out entire interactions between us and between her and Ben, testing lines, adjusting responses, editing her own memories like they were film reels. She made observations about our body language, noted how I reacted to silence, logged which phrases made me withdraw and which ones made me open up. Repeat, don't be mad, before difficult disclosures. Works 3-4 times. Ellis grows quiet when cornered. Mimic his silence with Ben, then invert. Maintain lavender detergent scent in both homes for continuity. Homes. Plural. She had been trying to sync us, creating a loop where we both existed in the same storyline, unaware that we were being recast over and over again. She wasn't cheating on me. She was studying me, reproducing the relationship like a play, a performance. Ben and I weren't rivals. We were versions, characters. There was a section titled simply, ACT 3, The Departure. It had a list beneath it. Use the mirror. Reintroduce the book. Allow Ellis to discover room 409. Wait for silence. Recreate, don't look for me. Observe reaction. Adjust as needed. I stopped breathing. She had written my line, the one I said the night I left. Then don't look for me. I thought it was raw, real, something I pulled from the bottom of my gut in the moment. But no, she had predicted it. Or worse, planted the seed for me to say it without realizing. This wasn't just manipulation. This was orchestration. I flipped to the last page. It was blank, except for 2 words written in the center. Curtain call. I dropped the notebook. My hands were sweating. My mouth dry. This wasn't about love. It wasn't even about control. It was about authorship. She wanted to own the story, to write it, to direct it, to cast it with whoever best fit the part. And somewhere along the line, I had stopped being the lead. I was now just a memory she kept editing. When she came home that evening, I was in the kitchen, drinking cold coffee and staring at the wall. She walked in, kissed me on the head, and said, "You okay?" I looked at her. I couldn't speak. And then, as if sensing the edge I was teetering on, she smiled and whispered, "Don't be mad." I felt everything in me splinter at once. I didn't say anything right away when she whispered those three familiar words, "Don't be mad." I just looked at her. Not in fear, not in confusion, but in absolute, still silence. It was like watching the final beat of a performance I'd seen one too many times, where the actors forgot they were acting. I wasn't in the scene anymore. I wasn't even in the audience. I had stepped off the stage. She tilted her head, waiting, maybe expecting me to say the line she wrote, the one in her notebook. "Then don't look for me." But I didn't. Instead, I smiled and said, "I'm not mad." And I meant it. Her expression faltered just slightly, like a director hearing an actor improvise off script. She blinked, as if the rhythm of the moment had gone out of tune. I stepped around her and walked to the kitchen table where I'd left the notebook, not to throw it at her, not to expose her, but to set it down between us. I placed it gently, the way you'd return something fragile to its rightful owner. "I read it," I said quietly. "All of it." She didn't deny it. She didn't gasp. She just stared down at the red leather cover, and for the first time in a long time, she looked tired. Not fake tired. Not performance tired. Human. I didn't yell. I didn't ask her why. I didn't need to. I already knew. Whatever was broken inside her, whatever empty space she tried to fill by rebuilding our love again and again in stranger shapes, I couldn't fix it. I wasn't meant to, but I could free myself from it. And maybe, in some strange way, free her too. "I'm leaving," I said. Not in anger, not in spite, but because I don't want to be a role anymore. I want to be real again. And I want you to be real too, with whoever you are and whoever you become next. Just without me. She didn't cry, and neither did I. She nodded once. That was all. I packed lightly. I didn't take the photos, or the books, or the letters. Just my clothes, my keys, and my favorite mug, the one she never liked because it had a crack in the handle. I left her a note. Not a dramatic one. Just a few lines. "Thank you for the story. I'm ready to write a new one now. This time, just mine." I moved out of the house that weekend. I didn't go to Ben. I didn't call him, didn't follow up. He deserved his own peace too. I imagine he's somewhere, probably still trying to make sense of it all. Maybe he's writing about it. Maybe he's already found someone new, someone who doesn't study him like a specimen. As for me, I rented a small apartment over a used bookstore in a quiet neighborhood with too many birds and not enough parking. It smells like paper and dust and possibility. I started journaling, for real this time. No lies, no rewrites. Just me, on the page. It's messy, it's slow, but it's mine. Some nights I still hear her voice in my head. Not the words, just the rhythm. The way she used to say things like she was carving them into stone. But the more I listen to my own voice, my real one, the quieter hers becomes. I'm learning to live without an audience. To stop performing. To find comfort in not being watched, not being directed, not being rehearsed. And the strangest part? I'm happy. Genuinely, quietly, astonishingly happy. For the first time in years, I don't feel like a character in someone else's play. I feel alive. And that, I think, is the real ending. Not revenge. Not rage. Not some twisted gotcha. Just freedom. And maybe, just maybe, the start of something better.